Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Steve, and today I want to talk about the Windows Subsystem for Linux, or WSL, which is how to run Linux on Windows. There's a lot of good reasons to use WSL. So this is going to let us run like a Minecraft server or Linux native utilities, so we can use all the normal bash scripts and commands, and there's Linux-only programs, or programs that at least run better on Linux, and we can all do that from Windows with a MicroVM that basically will take memory as it needs it, but then also give it back so it doesn't kill your system performance or anything. And you can do things like develop a Node.js app and then serve it from your local host, but use VS Code on Windows. So I'm going to take you through all that step by step. We're going to install Ubuntu. We're going to set up a web server. We're going to set up a Minecraft server, and I'll show you some cool tools and tricks as we go through it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install WSL2, which is a really simple command. We're going to open PowerShell up, run as admin, and run wsl-install. It's going to install some Windows components, and then we're going to reboot. So what we're going to do is we have this wsl-install command, and we're just going to go start, type PowerShell there, run as administrator. And the reason you need to do that is because it needs a fundamental Windows component to install. So in this case, we're just going to do this and right-click to paste it automatically. And it shouldn't take too long if you're on a decent internet connection. It's just going to install a Hyper-V layer, and that Hyper-V layer allows us to have these Linux VMs, and you can have more than one too. But in this case, we're just going to use Ubuntu by default. So it's going to enable those features. There we go. And now we do have to reboot. And so now that we've rebooted, we're going to go ahead and open up PowerShell one more time. Do run as administrator again. Say yes to the prompt. And then just go ahead and write wsl-install. And now you see, instead of installing Windows components, we're installing Ubuntu. So it's already downloading Linux. It's Ubuntu by default. And we already have the Hyper-V components installed now. So it's going to make that VM. All right. And that's all we need to do. So one of the things I like to do is I like to run Windows Terminal. And so by default, there's like a better application than just console. You can run Terminal here. And it's going to default to PowerShell. But now that we did WSL, you can select Ubuntu here. And so there we go. And so it says it can't install the font. Don't worry about that. And we're just going to go ahead and enter a super secret password here. And there we go. We are in Ubuntu. And so you can see here, I now have a shell. And I can go ahead and type top. And things are running here. And I can even do a sudo apt update. And type in a password. And you can see you have a Linux VM inside of Windows. So it's a very minimal VM. And if we check out the task manager, we should see this running also. And so let's go ahead and check out the stats here. You could see I'm still not even using my 16 gigs of RAM, much less the 32 yet. So by default, it's pretty lightweight. And if we want to see how much memory it's using, go ahead and type WSL at the top. And then you can see. So we're using about 1,400 megabytes of virtual memory. And you can see if we type free-m in the VM itself, it thinks it has almost 16 gigs of RAM available and 4 gigs of swap space, but it's actually only using 649. And so if we check out this again, we will see that that 649 is probably included in the vmmen WSL driver there. So let's go ahead and update our Ubuntu system. And so we'll do sudo apt upgrade. You can see here as we upgrade that it goes pretty fast also. So the VM is highly performant, and we can just check out like our stats here. And it's using one core pretty heavy, and then all the rest of the cores are basically idle. And in this case, we're using a lot of disk IO, which is just for unpacking all the packages and extracting them. The NVIDIA driver is actually because I'm running OBS to record this, so you can kind of ignore that. One of the big advantages to WSL2 is that there's also a great VS Code plugin, so you can develop just like you're on Linux, because normally when you're deploying applications, you're going to be deploying them to the cloud. So you're going to be deploying them on Linux VMs to Amazon or Azure or GCP or whatever. And so if we check out Visual Studio Code, the first thing you'd want to do here is go to extensions and then type WSL. And we're going to install this extension. And so now that we've got this installed, that was really quick. What we can do now is after restarting our terminal session, we can make dir test, cd test, and type code dot. And so you see now it says downloading for Linux x64. It's actually going to run VS Code inside WSL2 for us. And so here I have test WSL2. And so I'm going to make a new file, and we'll call it main.go. And let's go ahead and say package main, func main, and then we'll just say format.println hello YouTube. And then let's also import our format package. And so this is Golang. You could use any language you want here. And I'm going to go ahead and open a terminal by doing Control and then tilde. And you can see here it actually opens it in WSL2. So rather than having the normal Windows prompt, I have a Linux prompt. And so I type go here. We don't have Go installed, but I can do a su apt install Golang Go. And so I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm operating, again, within that Ubuntu VM on my own system, though. And so here we go. It's going to take a second to download all the packages and install them pretty fast. And while I'm doing that, I can also install the Golang extension for VS Code and get that support. And so I'll say yes to that. There we go. So I have the Go extension. And then you can see the output here from the Go extension. And if I go back to terminal, that was done too. So if I type Go here, now I have Go. And so in this case, what we can do is we can say go run main.go. And in this case, it was looking for package. Oh, I just saved the file. There we go. And so once I save the file and run it, it's going to compile the package and run. And we have hello YouTube. So that's how easy it is. And so now you can see I'm like basically working within the VM, but it's like my local system. And so I'm still in Windows with the GUI, but the actual program is in my Linux VM. Now that we have WSL2 installed, you can basically follow any Linux tutorial for Ubuntu. And so in this case, we have TurboGeek, shout outs to them. And we can just basically take these commands and they kind of lay them out so you can just cut and paste them. We do need a Java JRE, and that's to run Minecraft. It's written in Java. And so we'll go ahead and download that. And then when we run this, it should say version 17. And there we go. The JRE is installed, version 17. Everything looks good there. And now we can add a Minecraft user. There we go. And you can set a password here. We'll just do this. There we go. Default everything. And now we can switch to our Minecraft user. Cool, we're in. And so now you see my username changed to Minecraft. And so it's just like I logged in as Minecraft. And then we're going to grab a jar. And the jar is just the Minecraft server jar. So you can see here, this is the link. And we will copy that link address. And then in that case, we'll just run a curl-ol and then paste that in there. And the L is to follow and the O is for output. And so sometimes if you do a curl command, it doesn't work because you're missing one of those. And so in this case, it's 55 megabytes, so we're good to go there. We can skip the firewall command. WSL doesn't have UFW. It's in a VM already, and it only has allowed ports that are listening, so that's fine. And then what we can do is we can make a directory called Minecraft server here, and we'll move the server.jar to Minecraft server and switch there. So we have an empty directory, and in this case, what we can do is we can do a java-jar server. Just like any tutorial on the internet, these can go out of date pretty quick. In this case, it's using OpenJDK 17, but things have changed since then. So we're going to do a sudo apt install OpenJDK 21 JRE headless -y. And that's because Minecraft has been updated since the last time. And so we'll go ahead and install this. And if you run a java-version here, you see that it is 21 now. And so what we can do is we can go to the Minecraft user again. And from there, we'll see the server directory, Minecraft server, and then we'll do a java-jar. Well, let's do a Java. We'll do a java-version just to confirm we're at 21. We're good. Java-jar server.jar. There we go. And so Minecraft is starting up, and it's going to make like a dummy server.properties, and we have to agree with the EULA and all that. So if you see here, there's a whole lot of text here. You only really got to know about this. And so now if we do an ls, we see we have the ula.txt, and we just have to change this to true. So we'll go ahead and open it by and say true. There we go. And go ahead and run this again. And this is going to start up Minecraft. And so there's a lot of different settings you can tweak here in terms of how much memory you give it and the virtual CPUs, etc. You can see here that actually that runs super fast. And this is a full console. So if you type help here, this is just Minecraft running, and you can do all your normal commands. You can tweak the server.properties, etc. But you do have a Minecraft server running. When you start up WSL, there's also this great introduction app now. And so it has the links to how to use Linux and the best practices and all that. It tells you how the file systems work. So you can copy files to WSL, and you can copy files from WSL back to Windows again and round trip those. You can actually launch GUI apps. So like if you really wanted to, you could launch a game in Linux, but have it show up on Windows. And that's a pretty neat feature. And, there's things in there like GIMP and Audacity and sort of like the Linux native apps that people might use that for. The GPU acceleration, that's nice. So in this case, what I've used this for before is to do machine learning exercises. So you can expose your NVIDIA GPU inside of there, install CUDA, and then you can do all sorts of like Python and PyTorch work and make that happen. There's the network integration, and probably the most important part here is this mirrored mode networking. And so mirrored mode allows us to have an interface that looks like it's on our local network also. And so we're definitely going to want to enable that. And then, as you can see, you don't have to just install Ubuntu. You can go through and install multiple ones. You can install Oracle Linux. You can install Debian. You can install Red Hat or Amazon Linux, a bunch of different images there. And it does integrate with Docker Desktop. And that's really handy because when you run the Docker command in WSL, it's actually going to use its own set of VMs that are all integrated. And it's really easy to use and manage. And you can still use the UI on the Windows side. And the VS Code integration is top notch. So being able to have an IDE run inside, but have the GUI run in your Windows means that all the Linux tools work, and like it knows where your compiler is, and it knows where your LSP server is, and all these things. And so all that works pretty much seamlessly. So let's go ahead and click settings here, and there we go. So going to click out of there, click out of there. And now what we can do is we can boot up Minecraft and then connect to our server. So once we're in Minecraft, we'll click multiplayer, proceed, and we'll allow it to connect to the network. And we will add a server, 127.0.0.1. And here we go. So now you can see on the WSL side, I joined the game, and this is running on my network, and I can actually share this with friends, or just basically anywhere my laptop goes, I can expose this port using that WSL2 mirrored mode, and this lets other people connect to it too. So pretty cool biome. Performance looks good. This is running DaVinci somewhere in the background. I got OBS in the background. I have audio recording in the background, and I have WSL2 and Minecraft game, and I have multiple displays. So pretty impressive. But yeah, that's all it takes to get going with Minecraft. If you do set up the Minecraft server, take a little bit and look through all the config files. So you're going to want to go through them and make sure that you have your server.properties configured, and the Ops.json, you're going to want to add your user in there so that you're an operator, and then you can kick players who are disruptive and things like that. And if you ever want to get rid of the server, all you do is go to your WSL window and hit Ctrl+C, and Ctrl+C will kill it. So if you're worried, you're like, I can't turn it off or anything, go to WSL, hit Ctrl+C, and you can also use the Linux kill command if you had to. We can also do a Node.js app. So I like using NVM. And so all you got to do is Google for NVM, and then we are going to paste a curl command in here. And so we're on 40.3 at the time of recording. Doesn't really matter. Just use the newest one. And then we just have to make sure that these are ran. So we'll do that. And I'm just right clicking, by the way. So in Windows, you can just right click and it will paste whatever's selected. And so now I have NVM, and I can use NVM install --LTS, and that was install the long-term support release. And it shouldn't really take that long. WSL is very performant. And then what we can do is we can do like npx create next app at latest. And this will install Next.js, and we'll just say YouTube WSL, and we'll say all yes to all the defaults there. And this will install a Node.js server with sort of like the cool framework, which is Next.js, and that allows us to do things like use TypeScript and React, and that was pretty fast. Wow. Okay, so we'll go to YouTube WSL, and I'll just type code dot here, and you'll see then my editor pops right up, and I am now in it. I trust the authors. Cool. And so now I have everything I need. So here's my app. Here's my page. And you can see it's down here, it's talking about TypeScript. And so it has TypeScript JSX. And I can open a terminal again. And from here, I can do npx next start or next dev. And that's going to start up a server. And so you see here, it says open in browser. And I will open that in my browser. And this is compiling all of this. And within a few seconds, I have gone from 0 to JavaScript / TypeScript to Next.js. And this is all within WSL2. So I hope that was helpful for anybody watching. I find that Linux on Windows is actually really easy to manage. They've done a lot to make the GUI controls there so I can just point and click and change the settings. And running things like Minecraft servers or Next.js apps or whatever is a pretty cool feature because the integration is so smooth. You saw how it just like knows the ports, they're open, and it's very frictionless. And I can also just sort of keep everything componentized. So everything you saw is in my WSL VM, but I could have like 5, and I could have one that's just Next.js, one that's just Minecraft, one that's like an older version. So if you need something that's compatible, all of that is there, and you can switch between distros. You can install all sorts of different programs, from GUI programs to machine learning programs, etc. And you can kind of just take those GitHub gists that normally look like they're designed for just MacBooks, and you can run them on your Windows laptop. So it's great for a dev on the go. It will eat more battery, obviously, if you're running a VM with something intensive in there. And I think if you're using a Windows laptop, WSL is the way to go, because most of the systems that professionals are going to work on, whether you're an SRE or a developer, they're all written to basically target a Unix-like environment. And sometimes it's Mac OS, but really in production, it's all Linux. So nobody's really running Apple servers out there except Apple. You're going to see a lot of x86 or ARM servers, and that's where everybody's running the Java and the Go and the TypeScript apps, and maybe they're no Lambda, but they're all in a Linux environment, fundamentally speaking. So I hope that helped. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Later.